May 5th, 2017, 01:45 hours, Baria Village, Somalia. SEAL Team 6's Silver Squadron and Somali Danab commandos move through darkness toward an extremist explosives factory where intelligence places a bad guy with a $5 million bounty on his head. Senior Chief Kyle Milliken, 38, father of 2 from Maine, leads America's first major ground operation in Somalia since Black Hawk Down, and his 15 years of combat experience are screaming that something's wrong. No guards, no dogs, just silence. Each step through the monsoon-soaked mud creates deep impressions that announce their presence like a dinner bell, and in 17 minutes, that tactical disadvantage will cost Milliken everything. The Somali Danab commandos with them are local special forces we train to hunt extremists. Tonight's target, an explosives factory disguised as an abandoned building, and someone inside worth $5 million. The point man's closed fist halts the formation instantly. Through the L3GPN-VG-18, panoramic night vision that provides a 97-degree field of view, movement resolves into laundry hanging on a line, cotton sheets transformed into potential threats by the hypervigilance that keeps operators alive. His suppressed rifle is still loud as a jackhammer, but quiet enough that the whole village won't wake up. Yet. Something feels wrong as they approach the target building. The absence of dogs barking violates the natural pattern of Somali villages where canines serve as biological early warning systems. No sentries patrol the perimeter. No motorcycles staged for rapid escape. After 15 years of kicking down doors in Iraq and Afghanistan, Milliken recognizes the sensation crawling up his spine, the primitive awareness that the hunters might be walking into something unexpected. Hand signals coordinate the breach. The commandos stack on the left entrance while SEALs flow toward the right. A synchronized ballet rehearsed thousands of times until muscle memory overrides conscious thought. The breacher places his charge, a precisely measured amount of explosive calculated to defeat the door without overpressure that could harm anyone inside. Milliken takes his position in the stack, thinking briefly of his wife and 2 children sleeping safely in Maine. 7 time zones and a universe away from this moment. 3 fingers. 2. 1. Execute. The door disappears in a cloud of smoke and splinters. Milliken flows through the fatal funnel, the doorway where most casualties occur during room clearing, sweeping right with his IR laser painting, invisible laser beam across the darkness. Clear. The next room. Clear. Every corner challenged, every shadow investigated with the methodical precision that differentiates special operations from conventional warfare. The building is empty, but the story it tells through absence speaks volumes. Steam still rises from a cup of tea, abandoned mid-sip. Sleeping mats retain body heat that the thermal overlay on Milliken's optics detects can still see. The distinctive petroleum smell of recently cleaned weapons hangs in the air. Someone was here minutes ago, someone who received warning that they were approaching through the darkness. Fresh boot prints in the mud lead out the back exit toward the agricultural area where irrigation ditches and crop fields provide natural escape routes. The target has a head start measured in minutes. But in the arithmetic of pursuit, speed can overcome distance if applied correctly. Milliken points to the tracks, meeting the eyes of the Danab commander through their night vision. No words necessary. They both understand that every second of delay increases the probability of mission failure exponentially. The tracks lead through the village's narrow pathways, past tin-roofed shanties where families sleep unaware that America's most elite warriors are hunting outside their doors. The mud pulls at their boots with every step, creating a suction that turns what should be a 5-minute movement into a 20-minute struggle against the earth itself. Milliken's breathing remains controlled despite the exertion, but something makes him hold his breath. Through his night vision, the terrain ahead reveals itself as a network of irrigation trenches feeding the onion and tomato fields that sustain the local economy. A massive mango tree dominates the area, its branches spreading like an umbrella over trenches that provide natural fighting positions for anyone with basic tactical knowledge. The thermal overlay shows 2 heat signatures in shallow scrapes, sentries maintaining security on something or someone worth protecting. Milliken coordinates the approach through hand signals. The Danab commandos will take the left sentry while SEALs engage the right, a simultaneous neutralization that must occur within a fraction of a second to prevent an alarm. His L3 panoramic system provides nearly triple the field of view of standard night vision, allowing him to maintain situational awareness while focusing on his designated target. The IR laser from his HK-416 paints an invisible dot on the first sentry's center mass. Invisible to anyone not wearing night vision, but clear as a daylight to the Americans and their Somali partners. 20 meters, 15, 10. The sentries remain unaware. Milliken thinks about his children, how his daughter inherited his wife's smile, how his son already shows the determination that drove him through BUD/S training, where 80% of candidates quit. Focus returns as his finger moves from the trigger guard to the trigger itself. The synchronized shots crack through the darkness. Both sentries neutralized instantly. No alarm raised. But Milliken's experience from 48 combat missions in Iraq has taught him that assumptions in warfare lead to folded flags and grieving families. He moves forward to confirm the neutralization, stepping carefully through the mud. In 2009, outside Kandahar, Milliken's team lost a teammate to a fighter who played opossum until Americans got close enough for a grenade attack. That lesson cost a life to learn and saved dozens more in the years since. He approaches the first position, then the second, scanning with his weapon while his IR laser draws precise patterns through the darkness. The mango tree's low-hanging branches create shadows that even his advanced optics struggle to see through. Movement beneath the branches, barely perceptible but unmistakable to trained eyes. A third fighter concealed in a spider hole, a fighting position invisible until you're standing directly over it. The extremist has been watching the entire engagement, waiting for the perfect moment. Now, with Milliken exposed 15 feet from any substantial cover, he raises his weapon. The muzzle flash erupts like a miniature sun in the darkness. He attempts to pivot and return fire, but the mud that's been their enemy all night claims another victory. His boot slips in the viscous mixture of rain-soaked clay, throwing off his balance at the critical moment. The next burst finds its mark. Senior Chief Special Warfare Operator Kyle Milliken, father of two, husband, and veteran of 15 years of America's Shadow Wars, has just been wounded 40 miles west of Mogadishu. His team responds with overwhelming firepower. 48 rounds converge on the mango tree in less than 3 seconds, suppressed weapons creating a sound like a massive sewing machine stitching through the darkness. To say the first fighter was neutralized is an understatement. Despite getting payback for Milliken, the sound of gunfire echoes across the valley like a dinner bell for every extremist within 5 kilometers. Lights flicker on in houses throughout the village. The mission has transformed from a surgical strike to a broken contact drill in the span of seconds. Their primary target, if he was ever present, is certainly departing the area at maximum speed. The assistant team leader faces the kind of decision that defines military leadership. Continue toward an objective that's likely empty or extract wounded teammates while under fire. For Americans, especially for SEALs, the choice is preordained by culture and training. You don't leave anyone behind, ever. What happened next? We can't show it all here without YouTube slapping this video with a warning, but we can show you on Patreon. To watch the full-length video completely uncensored, subscribe to my Patreon page, where there are no restrictions on what we can tell and show you there. Scan the code or use the link in the description now to watch the full video. Prairie fire! Prairie fire! The emergency extraction request transmits on encrypted frequencies to every American asset within range. At Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, pilots are already spinning up rotors before the full situation report arrives. The term prairie fire originated in Vietnam when special operations teams needed immediate extraction under overwhelming enemy contact. It means Americans are about to be overrun unless air support arrives immediately. Muzzle flashes erupt from multiple buildings as extremist fighters respond to the gunfire. This isn't random shooting, but coordinated fire from fighters who've prepared for this possibility. The Somali interpreter, a dual citizen who fled the civil war as a child and returned to help rebuild his country, takes a round through his shoulder that spins him to the ground. Another SEAL catches shrapnel when a burst of automatic fire strikes the wall beside him, concrete fragments peppering him. Through his fading consciousness, Milliken watches his brothers execute a textbook withdrawal under fire. Violence of action, the principle that aggressive, decisive movement prevents the enemy from organizing an effective response. Bounding Overwatch, one element providing suppressive fire while another moves, then switching roles in a deadly leapfrog toward safety. These are men who've perfected their craft through thousands of hours of training and dozens of real-world operations. But no matter how hard you train, the enemy always gets a vote. A figure appears on a rooftop with a radio, obviously coordinating the enemy response. The team's designated marksman, carrying a Mk-17 SCAR with a loopholed Mark 8 scope, takes a shooting position using a wall for support. 300 meters in darkness with a wounded teammate, pressure that would break most humans. The shot cracks through the chaos. The coordinator drops, later confirmed as a local extremist commander responsible for multiple attacks on government forces. The enemy advance stalls for a moment. The team leader makes the tactical decision that will be debated furiously by armchair generals. With 3 wounded Americans, compromised operational security, and an alerted enemy, continuing toward the original objective would be futile at best, catastrophic at worst. The primary target has certainly fled, warned by the gunfire that announced American presence like a thunderclap. Professional warriors understand that not every mission ends with the primary objective achieved. Sometimes success means recognizing when to preserve your force for future operations. We're Oscar Mike, on the move. The term originated with military radio protocol, where O and M in the phonetic alphabet stand for on movement. Milliken's teammates create a casualty collection point, 2 operators lifting him in a tactical carry while others provide security. His feet drag through the mud, leaving parallel grooves that will still be visible when villagers investigate after sunrise. He tries to support some of his weight, understanding that his brothers are risking their lives for someone who might already be beyond saving. Smoke grenades deploy to obscure their movement. White clouds that appear silver-green through night vision. White phosphorus marks enemy positions for any air support that might be available, the chemical burning at temperatures that turn sand to glass. The Danab commandos perform magnificently under fire, their American training evident in their fire discipline and tactical movement. These are men who've chosen to fight for their country's future despite knowing that extremists will target their families for collaboration with Western forces. But they know what's right. The firefight intensifies as more fighters arrive on motorcycles, the preferred transportation of irregular forces throughout Africa's dense bush and expanse deserts. An RPK machine gun opens up from a rooftop, its distinctive cyclic rate slower than Western weapons, but no less deadly. The team's automatic rifleman answers with his MK-48, a weapon that fires the same 7.62 by 51mm rounds as the Vietnam-era M60, but weighs 4 pounds less. Superior firepower through superior technology, the American way of war. 300 meters to the helicopter landing zone feels like 3 miles when every step is through sucking mud while under fire. Milliken fades in and out of consciousness, his mind alternating between the immediate trauma and memories of home. He sees his father, a Navy veteran who served on destroyers during the Cold War, the man who taught him that service to country transcends personal safety. Then back to Somalia, the mud, the fear in the young Danab soldier's eyes as he fires his first shots in anger. 0300 hours. The muezzin's voice echoes from the mosque's loudspeakers, calling the faithful to Fajr, the dawn prayer. The entire village is awakening to violence, families huddling in their homes as bullets crack overhead. For the Americans, this means hundreds of potential combatants emerging into the battle space. The extremists can blend in with civilians while the SEALs remain obviously foreign even in darkness. That sound, helicopter blades cutting through the darkness, means salvation is minutes away. But what was supposed to guarantee their safety is about to become the most dangerous part of the mission yet. The helicopter materializes from the darkness like something from science fiction. The MH-60 Blackhawk, specially modified for special operations with armor plating, advanced avionics, and weapons systems that cost more than some nations spend on their entire military. Small arms fire erupts as it approaches, muzzle flashes creating a constellation of hostile intent around the landing zone. The door gunners respond with M134 miniguns, 6-barrel Gatling guns that fire 3,000 rounds per minute, creating what appears to be solid red lines of tracer fire connecting the aircraft to the earth. The helicopter touches down harder than intended, the pilot unable to gauge the ground's consistency through his night vision goggles. Immediately, something's wrong. The turbine engines scream at maximum power, but the aircraft doesn't lift. It's actually settling deeper. The landing gear, designed to support 20 tons of aircraft on solid ground, has broken through the surface crust into mud with the consistency of wet cement. The suction created by the helicopter's weight has effectively anchored it to the earth. This is the nightmare scenario for any extraction. A stationary aircraft in a hot landing zone is a target that even poorly trained fighters can't miss. The pilot increases collective, pushing the engines to their operational limits. The transmission temperature gauge climbs toward red line. At this consumption rate, they're burning through their fuel way faster than they'd like to, but movement remains impossible. The team fans out to maintain a security perimeter, engaging figures moving toward the field. Inside the bird, the pilot fights physics, slamming collective, then easing, rocking the helicopter nose forward and back to break the suction. The turbines scream as transmission temps climb. Operators throw rucks and ammo cans into the mud to lighten the load. Every pound jettisoned a chance at lift. Rotor wash kicks up waves of water and mud, battering the men crouched outside until finally the vacuum seal beneath the landing gear begins to give. The aircraft shudders, groaning like metal under stress, then inches free as the pilot rides the edge of redline power. Milliken watches through dimming vision as his brothers problem-solve under fire. No panic, no confusion, just professionals applying solutions to kinetic problems. A technical vehicle rounds the corner, its bed-mounted DSHK heavy machine gun capable of punching through the helicopter's armor with 12.7mm rounds. The door gunner walks a burst across the vehicle, the heavy rounds turning the engine block into scrap metal and neutralizing the crew. Physics becomes their enemy now. The mud has created a vacuum seal under the landing gear that requires thousands of pounds of force to overcome. 8 men synchronize their efforts with the rotor beats, using the helicopter's own movement to amplify their strength. Milliken wants to help, tries to stand despite wounds that would have already incapacitated most humans. The medic holds him down, conserving what little strength remains for the fight to keep him alive. An extremist with an RPG appears on a rooftop. The distinctive shape of the rocket-propelled grenade launcher, unmistakable, even at distance. 3 SEALs engage simultaneously without communication. The shared consciousness that develops among elite units who've trained together until individual thought becomes collective action. The fighter tumbles from the roof, his weapon detonating harmlessly in the street below. Finally, movement. An inch of separation between landing gear and earth. Then another. The vacuum seal breaks with an audible pop that's lost in the gunfire but felt through the airframe. "She's breaking free!" someone shouts as the helicopter lifts 6 inches, just enough for the pilot to transition from ground effect to flight. Milliken is lifted by 4 teammates. As the helicopter claws for altitude, door gunners engage targets until the aircraft banks hard toward Djibouti, leaving Somalia's chaos behind. 45 minutes to Camp Lemonnier, but Milliken's medical timeline is measured in minutes, not hours. The medic continues working with the determination of someone refusing to accept reality in a desperate battle against biology. Milliken remains conscious enough to understand what the medic's eyes reveal, that look medical professionals get when they're doing everything right, but physiology has already chosen the outcome. He thinks about his children, wondering if they'll remember him or just know him through photographs and stories. His daughter's 7, old enough to have memories but young enough that they'll fade. His son's 5. Will he remember teaching him to throw a baseball in their backyard in Maine? These thoughts hurt worse than the physical trauma. 20 minutes out from Camp Lemonnier, Milliken can no longer feel his legs as his body shuts down non-essential systems to preserve brain function. The team gathers around him, hands on his shoulders and arms, the warrior tradition of letting brothers know they're not alone at the end. Maine feels impossibly distant, another lifetime in another world now. 5 minutes. The medical team is visible on the landing pad, ready to fight his injuries with everything modern medicine offers. But some battles are decided before they begin. Milliken understands this with the clarity that comes at the end. He did his job. His brothers are safe. The mission continues. Senior Chief Kyle Milliken made the ultimate sacrifice just minutes after landing at Camp Lemonnier. 38 years old. 15 years of service, 4 Bronze Stars, 2 children who will grow up knowing their father gave his life protecting others. Bye for now.